Hello, good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday morning. I'm just going to be waiting a few minutes here for people to hop on. I hope you're doing well and are having a great day. Let me just pop up my Facebook group here as well so I can actually see if somebody is hopping on and asking some questions. Yeah, I hope that you guys' day or week is going well. Let me see. Here I am. Awesome. Just going to wait a few more minutes here. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so welcome everybody. We are getting in some new members in this group. I'm super excited for everybody to join us in this community. You might have seen that I actually changed the name of this community to Autoimmune Thrivers Circle. There's lots of exciting new things coming your way. I'm super happy to be coming up with some new announcements in the future. But yeah, and I changed the name because I want to express what my intent is with this group through the name of the group as well. And so the more and more I do this work, I see and I realize is that we are all needing a community around support and accountability. That is a whole different topic I would like to speak on as well, is that we are trying to do things a lot on our own. And that's when we get overwhelmed and we get frustrated because there are so many different opinions and life experiences dealing with an autoimmune out there. And everybody has a different approach because everybody has done things differently. And there's also you know, a lot of influences out there that speak up with opinions and the research might just not be there to support what they're saying. So I truly believe that community support, accountability, anchored in knowledge and really research and science, but also having experienced or are currently experiencing the journey with autoimmune is super important to look at, and that is why I changed the name to Autoimmune Thrivers Circle because I want this here to be. It's like a circle of women. We are all together in here in this world, and we are all dealing with similar issues or sometimes the same issues. And there's so much we can share with one another and so much we can learn from one another. So that I really want to represent that in the name of the group as well. So I also want you to feel this, when you enter this community, that this is your circle. It's a safe environment. I make sure that everybody is safe in here, that all the voices can be heard in a safe space. So welcome everybody. Welcome all new members and old members alike. And my clients are in here as well. So there's everybody in here, and I'm super happy to have you. Sorry, I'm a little bit late because I had to actually tend to my cat. He had a procedure done today on his paw today, and we were a little bit concerned to see if they might have to take off his toe. But luckily, they didn't. They only had to take off a little bit of his paw because he had some sort of growth on his paw. So I'm happy to report that my cat is fine. As always, they become family members to us. So yeah. Anyways, that is why I'm a little bit late. But today, let's talk a little bit about stress. I want to give you some tips on how to reduce stress depending on where it shows up in your body. So stress is really something that I see over and over and over and over and over and over and over again in our lives. And in the past and in the present, and there will be stress coming our way in the future as well. And stress is really a critical component to address if you not only want to recover with your autoimmune or get into remission, but if you also want to continue to stay in remission, if you want to continue to live well, if you want to continue to navigate the life with a chronic disease, with chronic inflammation consistently well, you have to become super aware of where your stress triggers lie. And that is actually really something that I am very much honing in on and focusing on when I work with my clients, because it is not something that women are, very much focused on. We all believe, and I'm not judging anybody here because that was me all the time. We all in here, we take on way too much for ourselves, especially in the beginning. We believe that stress is part of our lives, that we can't avoid, that we just have to get through, and that there's no other options. And that's not something we can change in our lives. But let me tell you, there is. There's always a solution. There's always a way that you can manage or even get rid of stress triggers in your life entirely. But you first need to understand yourself. You need to understand, and you have to have that awareness around, where does stress show in my life? What are my stress triggers? And how does that show up in my body? And sometimes when we are experiencing symptoms, we are always going into the direction of, is this a autoimmune symptom of mine? Is my autoimmune disease causing the symptoms? And then we go over to Google and then we Google everything. And this is, in my opinion, an approach that is fruitless, because we are basically trying to find the reason as to why this symptom is showing up and trying to connect it to our autoimmune disease, basically trying to put a label on it. But what we can do is, the first thing is, when we experience symptoms, really start at the basis and say, stress can cause a whole slew of different issues, whether it's nervous system related, whether it's inflammation related, whether it's hormonal imbalance related. It can show up in so many different ways in your body. And if you know how stress shows up in your body, then you can actually take inventory of when these symptoms show up for you. And you can then reflect and say, oh my goodness, this was really a root cause of me experiencing these symptoms at this moment in time. Because number one, the overarching um, hormone that is really involved in the stress response is cortisol. And when you do your research, or when you look into the effects of cortisol, you are going to realize that cortisol has an impact on all of those three and more systems in your body: hormones, inflammation, nervous system, circulatory system. So it's very likely that your symptoms are also connected to your stress response. So let me go through a few symptoms that stress actually provokes. And then I will give you some tips on how you can. Oh, sorry, you know what? Here we go. I had the wrong banner on. I'm going to give you some tips on how to reduce stress depending on where it shows up in your body. So I will want to share a worksheet with you. So basically, a worksheet that I have been sharing with my clients, and it is honestly a little bit of a homework piece where you can sit down and where you can actually jot down on a graph where stress shows up in your body. And I find that when we're actually doing the work and sitting down with, like a worksheet or something that we're coloring out or writing in, we are connecting with this work so much more rather than when we're just listening and consuming. So we have to put some action forth. So I will share this worksheet that I'm usually just giving out to my clients with you guys here in this group, that you can utilize that. And so when you do, you are starting to become way more aware of what stress can do in your body and where it actually shows up in your body. So, depending on what type of person you are, you will find that stress shows up in different areas, more pronounced than in others. So, I will give you some examples about myself. In the beginning, my personality type was very much type A. I was always thinking that I had to prove myself something, that I have to achieve in my job, in my family. I had to do everything right. And so I wasn't allowing myself rest most of the time. I was running around. The busier I was, the more I thought I was doing what I'm meant to do. I was doing what what's expected of me. So having said that, I had a lot of nervous system issues. So at one point, I started to have heart palpitations. And even though I was diagnosed with Hashimoto, so with low thyroid, I started to have heart palpitations. And so I went to the doctor and asked the doctor, maybe I'm overdosed. Maybe my thyroid medication is not the right dosage. However, it turns out that my thyroid levels were actually perfect. They were optimal. So it wasn't the thyroid medication. So I sat down and did this work and really thought about, so why is my nervous system so pumped up? Like, why is it that my adrenaline is rushing through my body? Why is it that my cortisol is like always elevated and leaving me in a state of, almost gasping for breath sometimes, not being able to breathe properly because of the heart palpitations. It was sometimes even scary. And so I sat down and I really came to realize that I was just running around like a crazy person. I was always thinking in the future, what next? What else do I have to do? I was always basically running behind. I always felt I was late. I always felt I didn't have enough time to do all of these tasks. I was always you putting all this pressure on me that my nervous system reacted with that because my adrenaline was going up all the time when something triggered me. My cortisol levels were up, and which really caused my heart rate to go up as well. And so I had to sit down and I had to really make sure that I cut out a lot of stuff out of my schedule. I had to delegate, I had to allow myself space and time to recuperate and recover. And that took a long time because we are oftentimes so immersed in our own ways of doing things that we don't even see this as an issue. But when once we connect these things with our symptoms that show up for us, we realize that we actually have to change our lifestyle and we have to change our lives around bettering our health too. It's not as if you can change your health and nothing else changes. If you are set on a journey that you want to change your health, everything around you will have to change. It just does because you're creating a life, you know, that is healthier. And so in order to do that, you have to change your life because if you're not, then you're staying stuck in the ways you have been feeling before. So I had to do a lot of self-care, and all of these things in the beginning phases. So when you're somebody, for example, who is experiencing a lot of muscle and joint pain, that is because stress can really cause pain. It can cause tightness and soreness in your muscles, and it can also cause almost like spasms or contractions in your muscles. So if you're somebody who's feeling it very much in your body tissue, so if you're feeling that, like you're so tight in your neck area that it's aggravating your muscles so much that it's almost like going into your arms. I had that for a little while too. Um, to such an extent that I had such a big knot in my neck that it was so tight that the pain was radiating into my arm. And so I knew that this was stress related and I had to do something about it. And so if you find that you're experiencing headaches, or if you find that you're experiencing a lot of tension in your body, and you may be thinking, oh my goodness, now are my joints affected by inflammation now? Is there anything else I need to do? Like, what else do you need to take in terms of supplementation to alleviate that? That might be something that you think about in the future. But the first thing I want you to think about is stress. Sit down and figure out when the muscle tightness started for you, or even if you have, say, restless leg syndrome. There's a lot of stress involved in restless leg syndrome, right? There's also nutrient deficiencies, but it's also stress. So, for the joint and muscle pain, there's so much you can do to reduce your stress. So, you can have the foam rollers, you can go get a massage, you can have a magnesium bath that soothes also your nervous system and brings down your stress levels there. You can even get you can Amazon has all kinds of really cool gadgets and things that you can use in order to alleviate muscle pain. I think there's also now, what I find really funny, interesting, those um massage guns, almost like where it's almost like a drill that kind of like like bumps against your skin, drills into your skin, not all the way, of course, but puts that pressure on your skin in a repetitive mode, so that your muscles start to relax. And then bring it back to where did this symptom start, and bring it back. What situation were you in, and what has changed in your life that caused you stress, and really understand that these things are causing you stress. So I will give you an example when it comes to stress triggers. Stress triggers, they don't always have to be something traumatic or big. So, what I am actually discovering with more and more clients that I'm working with is that little things can have such a massive stressful trigger on many people. And especially when it comes to habit changing, which is so hard in the beginning, and but it's so critical for us, right? Because like I said before, we are changing our lifestyle so that we can change our health as well. So simple things such as meal planning, or simple things such as I'm not eating the right foods, I don't know how to increase the intake of the right foods continuously. Like, how do I make this a habit? How do I create, even for some of us, it's even, like because of our imbalances from a nutrition perspective, we are we're not feeling it, but we're not feeling as if we are craving the vegetables. We are craving the sugars, we're craving processed foods. And the taste buds are not, they have been numbed over many years, and they haven't been developed yet to actually taste um, um, our vegetables and fruit. So what I find is that a lot of people, when you're starting to incorporate more and more consistently, you are actually starting to crave the good foods. Part of it is because your taste buds are actually being retrained for this type of food. So these can be major trigger events for people. And they sit down and they say they feel overwhelmed. And maybe that is you. Maybe you sit down at the table and you're like, I don't even know what I should be cooking today. Maybe you don't have the cooking skills, right? Or you think you don't have the cooking skills, or you're always cooking the same things and you don't know how to get out of the rut. And then you just keep doing it because it's the easiest way of doing it right now. See, these scenarios are all stress triggers, because we are not seeing a solution for us right now. We feel as if we're stuck in this situation that we know is not good for us, so which is causing us to react. It's almost a state of fear and fight or flight that we want to get out of. So that is really really the thing. So take the symptoms that you're experiencing and see if stress is involved, and then bring it back to when did the symptoms happen for you, and then recognize and assess the environment and change it. And so This is really important when it comes to keeping flares at bay because flares are really immune flares are really symptoms that we're likely to have because of our inflammation. It's different for everybody in an exaggerated way, again, like in a flared way. And it's oftentimes triggered by stress, right? And so, really having that awareness. I want to give you a few more symptoms and relate them back to stress. Heart and lungs. So, I talked about that a little bit about my own experience with the heart rate going up and the heart palpitations. Okay, so stress can definitely affect your heart and it doesn't matter what it is for you. So that can be, for example, deadlines at work that are really starting to stress you out, and you feel that you always feel, oh my goodness, as if somebody is chasing you, right? This is stress in your body. Um, you can also have chest or heart palpitations, like I just said to you. I talked about in my own experience. So whenever you're experiencing these symptoms, assess your environment and see, is this something that is related to stress, right? It doesn't necessarily only have to be because now you have this chronic disease and it's all because of that chronic disease. Chronic disease in itself has been triggered by stress as well. So that is something to look at. Um, Another symptom that I oftentimes see related to stress, believe it or not, is skin and hair. So another example I want to give you here is eczema. Eczema. So I am prone to eczema behind my ears, right here where my earlobe attaches to my face, in that little crease here is usually when I flare, where I get my eczemas. Now I know that this is for me 100% definitely stress related. When I can feel that my skin is breaking, when I can feel that eczema is starting to show for me, I know, okay, this is something this is something triggered by stress. I have to really now assess my environment and look at it and see what is not happening for me. What is not going well for me at this moment in time? What do I need to change in order for my body to really go back into remission? In the beginning, I just thought, oh my goodness, I had eczema, not just here, but I had eczema in other parts of my body too. And I was so scared. And I thought, oh my goodness, now I'm going to have another autoimmune on top of my Hashimoto's. What do I need to do? Right? Like, what creams can I use? And what supplementation do I need to take? And I didn't really do anything for my eczema in order to completely go away. I mean, I did, of course, help my eczema with, specific topical application, all of these kind of things, and I was continuously doing my nutrition thing. But now I understand that my skin is a weak part in my body that flares easily. And so I now know that whenever I experience a stressful situation, this is likely to flare up for me. So I'm not even fearful when that happens anymore. I just see it as my body talking to me. The last time I had an eczema flare was in 2020, in the summer of 2020. I'm not surprised because we all know what happened in end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And by summer, my body was responding to the stress. So that is another symptom that is definitely stress related. I quickly want to go into gut because, believe it or not, when you are doing everything you can in order to get rid of your constipation, or sometimes even diarrhea, but most of us here deal with constipation. And you're doing all the things, and you're taking the magnesium, and you're taking the laxative maybe, or you're taking the aloe juice, or you're doing the bowel massages, and you're doing all of these things, and the constipation is still present. I truly urge you to look at your stress levels. Okay. Cortisol is so involved in your digestive function. It's really, really important to make sure that you're, um, considering the stress response when you're having gut issues in terms of constipation. Stress cortisol is shutting down your digestion, right? It's not allowing your digestion to fully function, to function properly. So it's something that you need to look at for sure. Especially like if you have issues such as also like IBS symptoms or anything like that, stress plays such a huge role. So once you are starting to understand the connection between stress and all of these different body functions, then you understand, okay, number one, what do I need to do in terms of nutrition and lifestyle changes? But it also allows you to become very clear around what scenarios in my life are actually causing me stressful experiences that are then showing up physically. And that is where you have to really focus your work on and make it a priority that you have a really good stress response in place. Um, that leads you through those flares and through those symptoms so that they don't show for you anymore, right? So that you are going from a stress response into a recovery phase, so that you are never skipping the recovery phase, and that you're always recuperating from the stress and allowing your body to rejuvenate from that stress response. It's very, very important for us when we're dealing with a chronic disease. So let me see if there's another symptom I was gonna share with you. Let me just check my notes here. Oh yes, there was one more that I see oftentimes happening is your immune system is so affected by stress. Okay, so you need a strong immune system to fight disease, right? And your immune system is just by the nature of it, of an autoimmune disease, affected. So your immune system is not optimal to begin with, but you still need a strong immune system to fight off other diseases, right? There's tons of viruses out there, bacteria, pathogens coming in your way. So you need to have a strong immune system, regardless of whether you have chronic disease or not. So what I oftentimes see is when our bodies are actually stressed, you are more prone and likely to catch colds and flus, right? Um, but the thing is that when you are catching those cold and flus frequently, so I see it that people are frequently getting more sick. Every couple of weeks, three, four, once a month, they're coming down with something. Your immune system is not optimal. And I really urge you to look at stress around that. Okay. It's not just your immune system that you need to support, it is the stress in your life that you need to address. It can make autoimmune diseases, anything really, but specifically lupus, IBS, Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis, all of these things. It can really make it worse if your body is in a position where you're catching all of the bugs and then you're consistently having to go through recovery of a cold or flu all the time. It's not helping your immune system to become stronger or more resilient. So those are symptoms that I was going to share with you that are relatable to stress. And I hope that it makes sense to you, and I hope that it encourages you to look at those symptoms when they show up for you. Headache is another one. Oftentimes I hear people, I don't know where this headache is coming from. Number one cause, honestly, is always hydration, believe it or not. Second cause is stress. So take all of these symptoms that you're experiencing and do the work, do the inner work a little bit first, and then go on and then implement what you need to do to support these symptoms so you can shift out of the imbalance. I will share that worksheet with you guys, and you can start doing the work. And I will encourage you, if you actually do use the worksheet, to share the results with me if you like, right? That is why we are here in Autoimmune Thriver Circle. This is a community where you can actually do work. This is not just consuming information. This is consuming information and then taking that information and then implementing it. This is really what I want for you guys here. So do the work. Let me know how it goes for you. And yeah, share any wins, any aha moments that you've had along the way. And I'd be happy to read the responses. All right. All right, everybody. I will see you again next week. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day ahead of you. Have a good day.